Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. How's it going? It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for sharing this with your friends. Thank you for your comments, your wisdom, your truths that you're sharing with us all. And today I want to talk about something very, very important. As we observe throughout the world, governments are becoming more and more authoritarian. They're becoming more and more overbearing. Open tyrannies and dictatorships now in all spheres of this earth. And so many people are asking, how do we get out of this? But today I want to talk a little bit about how we got into this before answering how we can get out of this. And what's really the most important question here is, what is your relationship with government? Who are you in relation to governments? And what is your true standing? And I want to start with something very basic. Most people do participate in political process in a way that they say, listen, if I don't like this person in power, I'll vote for another person in power. If I don't like this authority, we'll exchange it with that authority. But we have seen now over the past decades and even centuries, if we've been looking, that it has only gotten worse, and that the options that we have seem to be all made of the same cloth. Now, one thing before we get into it deeper, I'm not against systems. I'm not against organized structures, because where two or more people live together, there's always going to be a structure, agreements, organization. Systems are here to serve mankind. Systems are here to serve societies. But now it's been flipped upside down, where societies serve the system. And this is the whole problem that we're in. But who are we? As man, as a being, as a natural being, who are we? The interesting thing is that when we look at a bird, a squirrel, or any other animal, we accept that this animal was born in freedom and it moves about freely. It has only one authority, really, and that's the creator itself, or, if you will, the physical creator, which is the parents, right? So in the beginning stages, a bird, a squirrel, whatever, will accept this authority, and even later on, it is only bound to that authority. How did we become subordinate to other human beings? First, we need to understand that they've been keeping this truth from us. We're actually sovereign being, and what do I mean by that? Listen, if you were born and if you see the light of day on this earth, then you are as much worth as any other being on this earth, which means that no other human can be above you unless you give them permission and you voluntarily agree to it. And this is really important. Everything we do is voluntary, because otherwise it would be slavery. What do I mean by that? Who created you? Did the government create you? Because if the government created you, yes, then they have authority over you. But since they didn't create you, or maybe they did, but for most of you, they didn't create you, they cannot have authority over you unless you at some point agree to it and continue to agree to it. The problem is you don't know this, and most people in government don't know this anymore, how the system was set up. The system was set up so that through various mechanisms and birth certificates and all that stuff that you use in one way, you have been entered into the system and you have become a person that is now to be ruled over by authorities. Because we're never taught this, because we think that how things are in our country is simply the norm, we go along with it. But now we're at this point where millions and millions of people around the planet are saying, how do we get out of this? The truth is, you need to realize who you really are. How can another human being rule over you unless you give them permission, unless you do it voluntarily? What if it isn't voluntary? Well, then, my friend, it's slavery. And the system itself, it doesn't permit itself to have slavery in its system. Every country now, most every country has laws that are against or prohibit slavery. So basically the system forbids itself from doing that. They just don't understand it. So if somebody comes to you and says, you need to do this, or you need to do this, or you need to follow this, or, then you need to understand that you don't really need to. You agree to. You voluntarily agree to. And we've put this to the test over many, many years and have lived it, but this is a spiritual understanding more than it is which is happening a lot in the sovereign movement, more than it is a fight against the government. The truth is that we need systems, and the truth is that we need to transform those systems to be something that serves us. But for this current moment, we're in a power struggle, and we need to withdraw the energy from these systems in order to be able to recreate them, right? So we either step into it, right in the center of it, and recreate it from there, and that's when you're called to go into political positions and actually spread light there, and I respect and support that totally. We've talked about this, we believe in this. However, there's people who simply want to get out of the system now and want to withdraw their energy completely and create something outside of it, and that must be okay too, because who could force you to stay in something? And this goes for all things. There's really just one universal law. Do no harm to another or their property. That's it. If you do no harm, if there's no victim, if you don't damage or do harm to anyone or any property, you haven't committed a crime. That is the universal law. It's that simple to follow. Everything else is just rules and regulations mankind has made up to regulate itself. But now is the time where we need to understand who we really are and who we are as sovereign beings. We are the ones. Because listen, this is the power hierarchy. There's a prime creator, God, the creator. Then there is man, because man was created by God. And then man created government, right? So this is the hierarchy. Now, if man created government, how can man ever be ruled by government? Cannot, unless we agree voluntarily. Everything we do in the system is voluntary. Everything we do requires our free will. Now, I hear your voices. I've been hearing them for 10, 15 years since I've been talking about this. But the consequences, you're going to get arrested, you're going to go to jail, you're going to be whatever, all those things. These are just consequences that have been shown to you often enough so you believe in them. You believe that is the reality that will unfold. I could tell you story after story after story that will speak to the contrary, but at the same time, I am not in charge of your destiny. We're not in charge of what the consequences of your actions are, because they're connected to your intentions, connected to your true heart. And so this is a spiritual journey. And when you arrive at the spiritual understanding that you are a sovereign being like any other being on this earth, and then it cannot be any other way, then you can only voluntarily submit to another man's power, another human being's power. If you don't want to do that anymore, you also need to come to the realization that there's only you and a prime creator. That's the only relationship of authority that there is. And that the prime creator's will, whether you want that or not, whether you believe in that or not, doesn't matter, will be the strongest will in the universe. Look around you. But the prime creator also gave us free will, also gave us intelligence, also gave us consciousness, perception, and understanding. Now we need to use these things. I encourage you all to study up more a little bit on what sovereignty means, why you are the source of power in every community. It doesn't matter whether you have a government like it's set up in most countries today, or even with a circle of elders. The power that the elders have, they actually have, that comes from the community, comes from their tribe, their people, that give them the authority to rule over important things in their community. And they do it with trust because they believe in the wisdom, in the experience, and the knowledge of the elders. This trust has been broken in our societies beyond repair, I would say, right now with these current government structures. And that's why so many people are either withdrawing or feeling inspired to go into them and change it. Both, I think, is equally important, but it is most important for you to reclaim sovereignty and what that means for you. Truly go within. Think about everywhere where you are attached to the system. Think about everything you do that you actually don't want to do, but you only do it because you fear the consequences that you might get from not doing it. It is a perverse system, and the deeper you go, the more you realize this. And there's many great resources out there, people that have been talking about the structure and how it's built. Jordan Maxwell comes to mind. Recently, he transitioned over into the other realm. He's been someone who's been exposing this a lot. David Icke has been exposing these things a lot. Max Egan has been exposing these things a lot. There's a lady called Anna van Reitz. She's very educated on this subject and explains through various different ways what your true standing is. But the thing is, everybody can talk about it. Everybody can bring you all the information. As I said, this is a spiritual understanding And when you reclaim your sovereignty, when you truly stand in your power, you will never ever again bow down to anyone. You will never ever again fear consequences, because the ultimate consequence would be for you to not honor your principles, for you to lose your self-respect, which is way worse than any consequence they might have for you. So when we went on this path many years ago, we never feared getting arrested. We never feared courts or police or any of that stuff. We had our fair share of encounters and always made it out, enriched on both sides, deeper understanding, a lot of appreciation, a lot of great conversations, a lot of great things that came from it. And so this is the time for humankind, for mankind, to really reclaim power and sovereignty, go into full self-sufficiency, and understand that this transitional period that we're in is going to be a bumpy ride, and you have to be steadfast in knowing who you are. You have to be steadfast in your understanding of what your true nature is, and that you are the source of all power, not you individually, but you collectively, the source of all power that anyone claims to have over you. And as much as you can give it, you can also take it back. We believe in many ways it's a time to take it back. It's a time to keep your voice, your vote. And we're not discouraging anyone from doing anything. What we're saying is keep the power here where you can actually do something with it and see where this inspiration leads you. All right, Inspired Tribe, thank you for joining us today on this journey to sovereignty a little bit. There's so much depth to this subject. You could go, again, start with the birth certificates, what they really mean. Start with your name and how the system creates an alias, if you will, a double, an adapter into the legal system, what common law is versus statutory law, what natural law is. There's so many terms here that are worth discovering. Start with sovereignty and start with yourself, and let your higher self guide you on this journey. Thank you again. We appreciate you. We love you, and we'll be back with you very, very soon.